Welcome to Chai Pe Kharcha, where we have conversations on personal finance among four NRI professionals working at tech firms. Think of these like water cooler chats you have at the office. Only this time, you will have Ishan, Madhvesh, Rohit, and Siddharth as colleagues you will be listening into. Before we get started, a quick disclaimer. We are not financial experts. The content provided in this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Always consult with a qualified financial professional if you need financial advice. Welcome back. We will continue from where we left off in the last episode. Hope you enjoy the show.
So let's say top 5 US where Indians who are thinking to move to, maybe like based on factors like cost of living, comfort, access to opportunities in terms of your career, etc. From your point of view, how would you advise it?
One, I don't feel like I'm most educated on this, like what the top cities would be, because I haven't lived there. What's common is essentially people moving to Bay Area, that is in and around San Francisco. Bay Area is very large, so like it comprises of many cities. So I just consider Bay Area as like one big city. So there's definitely Bay Area. A lot of people move over there because of like good weather. There's a lot of like job opportunities. So San Jose, San Francisco, Mountain View, Menlo Park, and all these cities are all part of it. I would say like Seattle's also a very good place just because like there's a lot of companies over here, higher bang for a buck, and people are nice in Seattle. I am more biased towards Seattle, but the weather is not that great. Like winters are long, they are rainy, very dark. I did my grad school in a place which was way colder than Seattle, so I don't really complain about the cold. But there's a lot of other people who also complain about Seattle's cold. So yeah, people are pretty sad about that. But in other aspects, I feel like Seattle's actually pretty good. And there's definitely a New York region. So now New York is actually a great city for someone, let us say, who's single, does not have a family yet. They want to enjoy their life. There's a lot of Indians over there. You have a lot of resources. You don't need a car. You can use public transport. You can enjoy your life. There's a lot of opportunities over there. So as long as you're willing to part away with your money, New York is a great city to live in. It's fun. But if you want to start saving money, I think like New York's not the place to be. A lot of people move towards Jersey City is adjacent to New York. They probably live over there, commute to New York. And Jersey actually has a very large Indian community. You'll be very much at home over there if you move towards Jersey. But again, it comes at the cost of taxation. Things are expensive there, but definitely cheaper than New York. You get community. My parents are on the East Coast, very close to these places, and they're very in touch with their community. Jersey also has the largest Hindu temple. If you guys are curious, like there's this new Babs like temple that recently completed, but it gets a lot of tourism and stuff like that. So it's pretty good. These I would definitely say I have first-hand experience going to these places and just seeing the community, like job opportunities or something like that. But apart from this, Texas, Austin, and Dallas also have a large Indian community, but they also don't have state tax, so you're probably doing well on your income. They also have cheap property. I've heard that Texas has one of the highest property taxes. So if you own something over there, your yearly payment to the government is going to be high. But again, like the government has to tax you in some form or the other. So it comes in the form of property taxes. Dallas has a very thriving Indian community. That's what I've seen and heard. So I have never been there, but that's something I definitely know is there. What else? There's LA, very close to Bay Area. I mean, it's not very approachable or regular commute, definitely, but yes, right? It's close to Bay Area. They have good weather, good opportunities, but traffic and expenses are too high. So that makes it not as great of a deal to be in. It's not as clean as other places, definitely. So, yeah. I don't know. Was that 5? I think so. So I would ask the same question about Singapore, but no shaming on the side of Singapore. But I feel like, where in Singapore would you say?
That's really Singapore is too small.
Have you been to Singapore?
No, I've not been to Singapore. I want to go there. I have friends from Singapore in the US.
Yeah, I think is to answer your question, anywhere in say actually always the central area would be more expensive than the outer areas. That's the only thing. But other than that, the expenses are more or less the same. Apart from the rent, might be, as I said, slightly different. Let's move on to more of the concluding questions. Starting with, do you know what is fire? You know what is fire. Have you thought about it? So, do you have a fire number? Do you think about retirement as in gaining financial independence and then doing things that you like? Give us, if you have a age number or a revenue number that you want to get to. And also tell us, what do you plan to do after getting to that stage?
Yeah. So I feel like if I truthfully answer these questions, I'll come out as a bit naive.
That's the point. Go for it.
Answers actually. Yeah, I have very fantasy-driven answers like for what I want in my life, which I definitely know are not. So realistically, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be doing this. But if there is any hope for me to do it, I would definitely like to do that. So I'll just start out with like the fun answers as to like what I really want to do, like when I have like a shit ton of money and I don't really have any liabilities and things like that. So I think like I gave a hint into like what I really want to do. So I think I spoke about like being a digital nomad or something like that. So I don't think that there has been someone who exists like that, but I don't think this is an impossible thing to do. I kind of like what I do in terms of like doing research and the stuff that I'm working on. What I would like is just more time to actually do that without the overhead of actually like talking to people and stuff like that. I just want to be alone, maybe just be in a nice, relaxing environment and actually just do some research, build new things, do some engineering of my own, and maybe go back to playing music and like maybe have a band of my own as I used to have when I was younger and like tour the world and do stuff like that. So again, it comes off as very fantasy driven, like maybe I'm like 18 years old kind of a dream. But I love to hold on to that just so that I can pretend I'm young. My fantasy dream is like I don't have any shackles or bonds. I can travel anywhere in the world, be a digital nomad for majority of my time, just invest into like doing research, helping push boundaries of science beyond. I feel a lot of like humankind and the luxuries and like whatever the society is on right now is because of like some advancements that we've made in the past. And I definitely want to contribute back to the world. And the best way I can contribute is just by pushing the boundaries of science. And I truly believe in that. And that's why I just want to keep doing this without the pressure of like other things coming in. So that's what I want to work on later on. And like I said, I want to have a band. I play music. For the folks who can actually see my background, I have my 2 guitars right here. So I want to go back into a situation where I'm part of a band and then touring the world and maybe just playing, not even world, maybe just playing like pubs and things like that. Because I still fantasize that. So that's what I want to do with my life, like later on, just on a personal scale. Like let us say if I don't have a family, like that's why it's fantasy because it does not involve family at all. But hopefully I will have a family going forward. But yeah, whatever. Now coming back to fire, I don't necessarily think I have a very strong like aim as in like, oh, this is the exact number, like $5.74 million and I'm done. I'm not very sure where the world is actually headed right now. So I don't know, like I might have to go back to India or I might settle in a different country. So I just feel like there's enough certainty that I don't really have a fire goal or something like that. And just based on like regions, like it might differ. But let us say if I were to stay in the US, so I think like as per today's date, given my age and how things might go ahead, I think like $5 million is something that I say someone gave me and I could put that in the bank, I would be happy with that right now. And then we be like, okay, I can go and do the stuff that I really care about right now. So that's the number. Like if I have to live with the same, like in the same place, taking into account all the inflation and stuff like that might happen over my lifetime. So that might be a number. But if you go on blind, I don't know if you guys use blind or not. But if you go on blind, people have very opinionated answers about these things. So some people say like, oh, $5 million is probably not Some say like maybe 10 is a better number. So that's why I don't really have an exact number, but I guess like 5 million should be good enough for now. What now? Do I actually have plans, or like am I actually trying to hit that? I'm not really optimizing very actively on that. Like just based on my previous answers, I think like right now I'm investing on a macro scale. I'm just trying to see like, oh, my numbers are looking better right now than it was. Maybe I have some micro goals, as in like, oh, I just want to hit this number, just so that I feel good about being able to do that. And I'm hoping like, over the next few years, I'll be able to hit like better numbers, and maybe I'll feel more comfortable about it. And maybe that's when I'll start thinking about retiring. But I guess right now it's so far in sight that I don't feel like I can even think about it. So I don't know if this sounds more pessimistic than optimistic, but yeah, that's my truth for now.
Yeah, that's practical, not necessarily pessimistic or optimistic. I'll ask one more question around real estate. So you touched upon it, Seattle being an expensive place. I want to know your specific opinion about real estate, irrespective of Seattle being the place.
Definitely, I do think about buying a house. One is because like I have the fear of missing out, because a lot of my friends have already bought houses and I don't have a house yet. And I am one of those people who like to spend their time. Zillow, it's an app that tells you about open listings for houses, the previous prices, about the current asking prices, and like has photographs of the house in and out and stuff like that. So I spend a lot of my time just browsing houses in this area, even though I don't have the capability to buy it or plan to buy anything in the future. Owning a house is also a lot of work, and it means that you're tied down in a place. I probably will end up living in Seattle. I want to keep my options open for now. If I have to move to, let us say, Austin in Texas, I want to be. But yeah, I do want to buy a house. Seattle is super expensive, but has a lot of opportunity. A lot of prices in Seattle are driven by the school districts. So I'm not sure if you guys know schooling in the US. So for listeners out there who don't really know about this, in the US, there are public schools where children up to like the 12th grade get their education for free. And after that is when they apply for universities for their undergrad, and then they get acceptance. A lot of these schools will have their own educational like syllabus and plans and things like that, and their own quality of education. And that quality of education really determines what kind of scores you might end up getting in like standardized tests, like SATs and GREs, which are actually being discouraged right now by a lot of universities. Universities will probably look at what rating there's a rating mechanism for each of these schools. And universities will probably look at like, oh, you come from a 10 on 10 school, or maybe you come out of like a 4 on 10 school. So maybe that's why we don't want you. Maybe it might not be as awesome as like a 10 on 10 school, something like that. There's that kind of a system out here. Schooling is free, but you go to a school, and essentially means that localities and neighborhoods which have a very highly rated school has higher real estate prices. So that is why another city that is adjacent to Seattle, Bellevue, comes in under the greater Seattle area. Bellevue is a 10 on 10 school, if I remember correctly. So that place is very expensive. It's more expensive than Seattle. Seattle does not have a 10 on 10 school, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So that's why Bellevue is expensive, because a lot of Asians, people who really care about their children's education, a lot of Indians end up buying the houses in Bellevue so that their kids can study in a free school that is rated very well. Of course, you can send your kids to private schools, but they are very expensive. I'm talking in the order, so like $50,000 a year or something like that. I have not looked up at these prices, but this is what I hear. So it's up to you. Do you want to spend that money in real estate, or you want to spend it in a private school? I would say spending it in real estate makes more sense, because it's sort of an investment. Again, real estate comes with its own clauses, so it's not truly necessarily a complete investment, but yeah, it's better than throwing your money onto schools. So definitely, if I have a kid, I would want to have a house, a neighborhood which has a better school. That means that I'll probably have to spend a lot more on my house, maybe compromise on the quality of the house or something like that, just so that I can be in a neighborhood with a better school. So that's definitely a factor that drives prices in the US. I think I should also point out that $1 million can go a long way if you're at a different place. There's places like Texas, it makes way more sense to buy a house than to pay rent. So you might be even able to buy a house for the same amount you might pay rent. So it definitely makes more sense to buy a house somewhere in Texas. And that's why I would say a lot of probably Indians also stay in Texas, because there is community and you can have a property over there. Somewhere in Montana, that $1 million will probably get you some sort of a mansion or a castle and a big field where your horses can run. And the horses themselves, I don't know how much a horse costs, but I'm assuming $1 million. So in Montana, definitely that might be true. Not in Seattle. In Seattle, you'll probably get a condo. I remember a one-bed condo was around like $1 million. One of the tall buildings right in front of my previous apartment I was staying in, I was just Zillowing, and I saw a one-bed, 800 square feet, large condo for $1 million. And on top of that, I don't know if you guys have HOA in Singapore. So if you are living in a place which has like some shared spaces, this is essentially the maintenance that you might have to pay. So the maintenance for that, for the $1 million, your monthly HOA was at somewhere around like $1,200. So at that point in time, again, that adds up. In addition to your property tax and your HOA that you have to pay, and the property tax, HOA, and like other maintenance stuff that you might have to do for your own condo, those things add up, and you'll have to compare, like, is it actually worth the difference and the extra headache that you might have when you might actually pay similar amounts with the rent. So there's a lot of variance, and you probably have to think a lot in the US before you buy.
Cool. Good chat, man. It went too very fast.
Cool. Yeah, it felt shorter than it was. So
yeah, and we didn't even go into specific कि वही stock खरीदने के लिए what's your approach and things like that. Maybe we'll schedule one more episode in time to come to pick on.
Yeah, we can save some materials for the next episode. Like, if people like my very naive and very uneducated answers of like finances and stuff like that, I'm willing to share more information.
No, that's the absolute idea. The idea is peer-to-peer learning. So thank you, Yash, for giving so much time for the recording. And we'll be back for the next episode. Chai Pe Kharcha, to the new guest. Thank you.